Standing outside the door, loving mercy, you wonder if there's a place there for you. You know the peace inside, but still you're searching for someone who understands the pain through. The Spirit waits with open arms, calling out your name. Come on in, welcome home to a love you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in. There is room enough in the whole love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home to a love you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, welcome home to a love you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in.
So good morning and welcome to Unity. Good morning if you're watching online, and we're grateful for every single person that is here. We hope today is a blessing to you. We have some announcements to begin with here. So the announcements are Father's Day pictures. If you were here Mother's Day, you saw the beautiful pictures that were on the in the PowerPoint. So we invite you to send your picture of you and your dad, and send that to unityoflondon@hotmail.com for Hilda to put in the PowerPoint. And the next announcement, just hold on for a second, let's give this a bit of a, okay. We're having a town hall meeting on Father's Day, June the 16th, after the service, and we're also having a potluck, so you get to have the service, potluck, and hear what's going on at Unity and give your input. And we've got we have a spring cleanup this Saturday, so if you would like to come and help us to clean up, I'm not sure all that needs to be done, but just like your house, windows washed perhaps, floors, the yard maybe. So if you can do that, we would love to have you. It's from 9 to 12, and we're going to have a barbecue afterwards to just eat together. And there is a sign-up sheet on the fellowship hall table if you would sign up so we know if you're coming. Last but not least, we have the tickets for the barbecue dance with the music by Jim Chapman and the Incontinentals. And great music. But the ticket sales have been kind of slow. So what we're thinking is if we don't sell about 35 35 tickets today, it probably will be canceled for this time. So if you can, if we sell enough tickets today, it'll go ahead. And otherwise, clearly the indication is not now, but we'll do it again later. We also need volunteers for that. So if you can volunteer, if you would see Dawn after the service. Dawn, where are you? Oh, Dawn's at the back as our usher greeter today. And so just talk to her and let her know if you can help in the kitchen or what it is that you can do. Okay, so you are the light, right? You are the light. Usually I have you talking to each other, but sometimes that can be uncomfortable. So I'm just going to have you talk to me, and I'm going to talk to you. So, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Look at you.
Look at you.
You are shining so brightly.
You are shining so brightly.
Because you're the Christ.
Because you're the Christ.
You are the spiritualized individual who is here having an earth experience.
You are the spiritualized individual who is here having an earthly experience.
And we have so much work to do, right?
And we have so much work to do.
The world is calling out for the love that we can offer.
The world is calling out for the love that we can offer.
And I'm going to need you to up that energy about 3 times. Because I'm hearing, and the world is... Yeah, like you're really ready to do it, right? Okay, so if you're really ready to be the light, say, I am the light.
I am the light.
I can change the world.
I can change the world.
Is that true?
Yes.
And so it is. Let's sing.
You want to clap along, then feel free. We got the whole world in our hands. 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 We have the power of the Spirit in our hands. We have the power of the Spirit in our hands. We have the power of the Spirit in our hands. We have the power in our hands. We got our brothers and sisters in our hands. We got our brothers and sisters in our hands. We got our brothers and sisters in our hands. We got their happiness in our hands. We have the strength to serve in our hands. We have the strength to serve in our hands. We have the strength to serve in our hands. We have the strength right in our hands. We got the rivers and the mountains in our hands. We got the seas and the islands in our hands. We got the land and the sky in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We have the life of the planet in our hands. We have the brothers and sisters in our hands. We have the little bitty baby in our hands. We have the future in our hands. We got the whole world 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 in our hands.
Good morning. Good morning. Unity's foundation is affirmative prayer. If you wish prayer for yourself or someone else, you're invited to use our prayer box. Put a name on a piece of paper and place it in the box. There's no need to explain the situation, as God is all-knowing. It will be prayed over here at Unity by our prayer angels for 30 days and then sent on to Silent Unity for additional prayer. Remember, 24 hours a day, you can also call 1-800-NOW-PRAY to reach Silent Unity, where people have been praying with and for folks for over 130 years. If you wish private one-on-one prayer, we have a prayer chaplain available to pray with you following today's service. You can meet our prayer chaplain in our prayer room, which is through the fellowship area and up the orange stairs. Today, our prayer chaplain is Patty, and Patty, would you please come up and share a prayer with us?
As we bring our awareness to our heart center, that place of stillness, love, and peace, as we rest in this special place, we give thanks for this wondrous world that we move in and have our being. We are grateful and receptive to the messages of the music we hear, the talk as we listen, and the people in the congregation, our Facebook community, and the world beyond. Divine being moves within us all, and as this energy flows through every cell of our body, through our thoughts and feelings, we are saturated with this love and allow this expression of God and the Goddess to engulf our being in totality and release in everything we do and have our presence. We ask for blessings for all spiritual gatherings that are taking place around the world today. And we remember Unity of London, Unity of Vancouver. And now we take a moment to think of those who may need a little extra loving energy, and we whisper their names. in this sacred space. Today we remember George and Barb Rand, Barb's mother who has made her transition, and Catherine Bro, whose second father has made his transition. We remember that divine intelligence is our inner source, and today we ask for guidance, love, and light to fill our hearts, this room, beyond these walls, to the world outside. And so it is.
And now for a message from the Daily Word brought to us by Simon May. Diversity. I appreciate the vastness and diversity in the world. As I walk through a garden blooming with spring flowers, I delight in the symphony of colors and fragrances. When I pause and look more closely, I see that no two blossoms are identical. I appreciate both the exquisite beauty of the garden and the unique contribution that each blossom offers. In the beautiful diversity of colors, shapes, and fragrances, I experience the beauty of God. As I grow in spiritual awareness, I recognize that the human family, even more magnificent than a spring garden, reflects the beauty and glory of God. Each racial, cultural, and spiritual group within the human family adds richness to the human experience. Each person expresses the beauty of God in a unique way. From Genesis 1, verse 31, God saw everything that he had made, and indeed, it was very good.
Here's a song about a good thing to do. This is by our old friend Eddie Watkins. Take a look at the person next to you. God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Now look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Now lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. With every walk of life, every creed and color, we should be alive, honoring the God in each other. Now look at the person next to you. Say, Namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. You lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. Come together. In the name of one more time. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. You sure you don't want to have it?
It just gets heavier and heavier the more I carry it around. Okay. So Jack was walking along the edge of a cliff, and all of a sudden, he fell over. And he fell, and on the way down, there was a branch, and he grabbed it. And he started to yell, "Help! Help!" And he looked down and he saw, oh my gosh, the canyon floor was like 1,000 feet below him. "Help! Help! Somebody help me!" He'd been calling out for a few minutes when he heard someone respond, "Jack! Jack, I see you." And Jack's like, "Where are you? Who are you?" "Jack, I'm the Lord. I'm everywhere." And Jack said, "You mean God?" "Yes, Jack, I'm God." "Oh, God, if you could just save me. I'd go to church every Sunday. I would turn around my life. I would do things differently. I would become so much better." And God says, "Jack, let's hold off on the promises until we get you out of there, and then we'll talk." "Okay, so Jack, I just want you to do one thing." And he's like, "I'll do anything, God." "I want you to let go and trust me." Silence. And then we hear Jack yelling, "Help! Help! Is anyone else up there?" Oh boy. This month we're looking at the theme of letting go. Letting go. And it's always easier said than done. How many have had a friend say to them, "Oh, just let it go"? It's easy to say, but not so easy to do. I was looking out the window at my office at home, and I saw this mama bird feeding the baby bird. And I thought, in a short while, that mother is going to stop feeding that baby because it will get to the point where it trusts and knows that that baby has learned how to feed itself. Naturally, in nature, we see this natural letting go. This natural letting go. In my life, I've had a number of opportunities, as I know you have, to do some tough letting go. The first one that I go back and remember is when my daughter Jen was 3, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And I had to let go of the idea of how my life would be from then on in. Then when she was 16, she was suffering from an eating disorder. And I had to drive to Homewood Retreatment Center, and I knew she'd be there for 4 months. And I had to let her go. Can you imagine? Walking out that door and driving home alone? I had to let her go. Then, years later, when she went off to college in Windsor, Bob and I drove her to college and set up her residence room, and there was that moment I had to let go. And there were tears. Each of these journeys, there were tears. And then when she moved north, up to Kincardine with her then boyfriend, I had to let her go again. And even now that she's back in London, perfectly healthy, I still have to let go. But you know what it is now? I have to let go of the urge to give her advice. Anyone relate with your kids? Oh my gosh, I have to let that go. As difficult as it can be to let go of our annoyances, frustrations, our hurts, our pain, let go of the idea that that person just won't be the way I want them to be, or they won't do what I want them to do. There's so much letting go, and it's hard, but it can be easier. In the Wednesday class, we're studying a book called The Eye of the Storm. And the eye of the storm is that place of peace, right? In us, the eye of the storm is our wholeness. And when we are standing in our wholeness, then we can feel at peace. But there are things, he calls them winds of conflict, that come into our experience that try to pull us out of our wholeness, out of the center. Sometimes it's not so hard to do, to get pulled out of that. On Wednesday, we also talked about one of those attributes, and the attribute is purpose. One of the attributes of our wholeness is purpose. And so today that's what I want to share with you, because I believe if we could live into our purpose, we will be able to more easily let go. And Jesus gave us a wonderful description of what our purpose is. So I want to read from John 14, and I'm going to edit it a bit for the sake of time. But basically, Jesus he's told the disciples, he said, one amongst you is going to betray me. And then he went on and he said to Peter, you're going to deny that you know me. And Peter's like, what? He's like, yeah, and 3 times. You're going to do it 3 times. So this is his words of comfort to the disciples. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. You know the way to the place where I am going. And Thomas said to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way? And Jesus answered, take a breath. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. So that's an abbreviated part of that passage, but what that passage reminds us is that Jesus was continually giving us the message that I and the Father are one. So what is the Father? It's that from which we come. And so I am one with all that is. I am one with that which creates me and the universe. And you are too. He said that time and again. And he's saying, I am the way and the truth and the life. I am. He wasn't talking about Jesus the man. He was talking about the Christ. The Christ. And so, he's asking us to trust that we are cared for and that something will catch us when we fall. So what I'm going to talk about is that line, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And because I believe that is Jesus' description for our purpose in life. So to live the way of God is to live as the Christ. In Unity Talk, we talk about our Christ consciousness, to live as the Christ. And how do you know if you're living as the Christ? How do you know if you're living the way of God? Well, Wednesday we talked about we are either living the way of God or we are living in the way of God. And you know what? It's really not too hard to tell the difference. If you are judging and blaming and fearful and dishonest and unwilling, unforgiving, doubting, stubborn, unkind, or just plain negative, guess what? You're likely in the way of God. Because what is the way of God? It's love. Love. Love is the way of God. This past week I was on the phone to Reliance Home Care. Don't we love those phone calls to get things done? And I wanted to arrange for a new water heater. I want to get rid of the rental and buy a water heater. And so the girl was telling me that we're not in the business of selling water heaters, but we'll come and take out the old one, we'll put in a new one, and if you rent it for a short time, then you can buy it. And here's how much you'll buy it for. And at the end of the conversation, here's the ticket number for this conversation, just in case you call back. Well, I had some more questions, so I called back. And when I called back, I got someone else. And I gave them the ticket number. This is the record of our conversation. And this person said, I don't know who you were talking to. And I said, and she said, this is how much it would cost. I don't know where she got that number from. And, really, we don't sell water heaters. I wasn't so kind. Well, not quite that bad. But I let my annoyance show. Have you had that experience? I wasn't being the way of God. My unkindness was being in the way of God, wanting her to do something she couldn't do. I love what Gary Simmons writes. It's easy to see that in any relationship, there is a mixture of needs, wants, and priorities. And when what we want or value gets in the way of someone else, then conflict occurs. Competition occurs. Because I'm trying to get my needs met, you're trying to get yours met, and we're competing and we're out of our purpose. And wasn't this what happened for Judas? Judas was a disciple of Jesus. He loved Jesus. But then there were the bags of money. The Romans were offering him all of this coin if he would just turn over Jesus, betray him. And so Judas is struggling. I really want that money. I could do this with that money. I need that money. Oh, I love Jesus. He's going back and forth. He's in the storm. He's in the conflict. And we know what he decided to do. He stepped out of his purpose of being the way of God. And conflict was created. What does it mean to be the truth of God? Well, in Unity, we teach that living in the truth, God is omnipresence. What does that mean? Everywhere. Omnipotence, all-powerful. Omniscience, all knowledge. So, all knowledge, all power, this energy is present everywhere, available to us. The test is whether you believe that. And you'll know if you believe it by asking yourself, can I see God in this situation? Because if you're making someone the enemy of you, if you're thinking that this situation is against us and blaming other people and judging it, then truly you are not standing in our truth principles. Because you're not seeing God there. You're stepping out. You're seeing something other than God. And in Unity we teach our first principle, there is only one power and one presence active in the universe as my life. And it is God. And it is good. I love this. Knowing the truth frees the situation to become an ingredient in God's plan for good. Do you hear that? To become an ingredient. It's a part of, it's one of a number of things that is leading me to my good. I can't always see it, but that's where, if we remember, am I seeing God in this situation? We'll be able to come back and stand in that truth. Another passage I want to share with you is from Matthew 16. And this speaks to the nature of who we are. Who do people say the Son of Man is? Jesus asks. And they reply, and listen to this, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, a prophet from long ago, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. So just as an aside, sounds like they believe in reincarnation. Yeah, okay. But what about you, he asked. Who do you say I am? And Simon Peter answered, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Simon Peter, he answered, okay. So Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. So let's unpack that a little bit. So Simon's name is now changed to Peter. Peter metaphysically represents faith. And Jesus is saying, you weren't told by somebody else that I'm the Christ. You got that information from within, from the Father. You recognized the truth. He goes on to say, and on this rock I will build my church. Now, some people have taken that literally, and they've built a church on a rock. But what Jesus is saying is, on this rock, on this perception, on this truth, I will build my church. Now, church, the word church comes from a Greek word which means the Lord's house. And Charles Fillmore, our Unity co-founder, metaphysically interprets the Lord's house as our individual consciousness. So, on this truth, your consciousness can be built. And in your consciousness in the Lord's house are many ideas and thoughts. And it's in that place where we have our Christ consciousness. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So what is the life of God? Well, this is a poem that is in the Tao Te Ching, which dates back to like 500 BCE. And Lao Tzu wrote this, and I love this, and Gary shares this in his book, The Eye of the Storm. Men are born soft and supple. Dead, they are stiff and hard. Plants are born pliant and tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. There's an underscoring that thought. So, to be the way of God is to be flexible, to be soft, to be affirming and supportive. It's to be in the flow of life. It's to radiate that energy everywhere that we go. That's what it means to be the life of God. So, letting go is easier when you examine your beliefs. When you're in the midst of a situation, you can ask yourself, am I being the way of God? Or am I in the way of God? That's such a good question, do you think? Yeah. What is the truth of this situation? Can I see God in it? Am I radiating the life of God by being flexible and willing? Or am I saying, I'm right and you're wrong? This is the way it has to be. You know, as soon as we think we've come up with an answer to something, we close all of the other possibilities that are out there. We close ourselves off to them. So we want to be open and flexible. If someone else comes in, we want to just be open and flexible to listening so that we can radiate the truth of who we are. So as I reflect on my earlier letting go, I realized that when I held on the tightest, it was when my thoughts were in the way of God. When I couldn't see a situation as being for me, but rather against me, when I couldn't see that it was a piece of a puzzle, then I couldn't see that what's showing up right here today is moving me to my greatest good. If I would move with it instead of fighting it, pushing it away. And I realized that sometimes in the past, maybe I wasn't so flexible. And sometimes maybe I thought I had all the answers. Anyone join me in that, or am I alone? But if in a moment I could remember, what's my purpose? I am the way, the truth, and the life of God. Say that with me. I am the way, the truth, and the life of God. And if that's the case, would I be unkind? Would I lash out on someone else? Would I judge other people? Would I push away situations that keep showing up for my good? I am the truth and the way and the life of God. I like this. I can't pronounce the author's name, but if you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of peace. What would you prefer, a little or a lot? So letting go requires the faith to live into our purpose, trusting that something will always catch us something will always catch us. Because remember, where is God? Everywhere. And if we're hanging from that limb, looking down at emptiness for 1,000 feet, something will catch us. A great example of this is in the Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you remember that scene where the cliff ends and he wants to get over there, but there's nothing in between. There's that side and this side. And he steps out in faith. It would be like me stepping out here, expecting not to go down. He stepped out in faith, trusting that the way would be clear and solid, and he would be upheld. So today I'm dragging around my stuff. Everybody's asking me, where are you going? What are you doing? You know, isn't it true that when we can't let go, that we drag our stuff with us? And the longer that we drag our stuff, the heavier our stuff gets. The harder it is to open our hearts to other people because we've built this whole story about our life, how other people are against us, how if only they would be different, I'd be happy. You know, Gary in the course talks about how we keep making something wrong with our life by saying that there's something missing in our life, and yet we are born complete with everything, but we can't see it. So we drag our stuff with us. And what happens is, if I had asked everyone here to bring your carry-ons today, and we're all carrying it around, what would happen? We'd be banging into each other, and that's what happens. In real life, that's what happens, but it's just not so visible. We throw our stuff around, we throw it at other people. It's time to let it go. It's time to let it go. And to be free. I can do it, and you can do it. So let's take this into meditation. And we're going to sing.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
And so we've established that the presence of love is in this place because we are here. And we are the way of God. And so we become comfortable in our seat, close our eyes, and take a deep cleansing breath in and out. Just relax your shoulders down. If you like, you can move to the edge of your seat, which just gives you a bit of a straighter back and a greater kind of awareness in the moment that we are in this place of meditating. So, picture in front of you a carry-on bag. It's probably the one you've got at home. And you unzip it, unclasp it, you open it somehow. And I want you to bring to mind some circumstances that have occurred in the past. and people that you've been angry with, disappointed in, people you are not speaking to any longer because they just aren't okay. And so I want you to put them in the bag. I want you to put the situations in your bag. Put all that in your bag. The times that you've been hurt, when your partner didn't do what you wanted them to do or go where you wanted to go. The times when you didn't get praised when you thought you should. Just all those times that are annoying. People that you call and they just aren't helping you. Put them in the bag. Put those things in the bag. So now it's time to zip up our bag, and you might have to sit on it to get it closed. And now you pull up the handle and you start walking with it. And you see that you're kind of struggling because it's heavy. Even with the wheels, it's like you're pulling it along and pulling it. And everywhere you go, you've got this stuff. And then someone says, and we'll let that someone be the Christ. They'll say your name and they'll say, let it go. So it would sound like Lori, let it go. So say your name and let it go together. Let it go. God is in all of that. And God can heal what needs to be healed in there. And so we let it go. And we don't just walk away from it. It actually evaporates. It just evaporates. And it's gone. And you feel that feeling of absolute freedom. Not having to pull your stuff. You've stepped up to a different level of spiritual understanding. You're moving in a different vibration of being. You're living in your Christ consciousness. And so for a few moments, let's sit in the silence and feel that feeling, that freedom, that empowerment of living in our Christ consciousness. way, the truth, and the life. Would you say that with me? I am the way, the truth, and the life. And take a deep breath in. Oh, and let it go. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.
Alleluia, 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 alleluia,
Thank you, Rev Lori, for such a wonderful practical teaching. The lesson about letting go. I'm lucky enough to be in the Wednesday night class, The Eye of the Storm, and it's a good one. And a powerful, powerful message about doing that little check. Am I in the way of God, or am I living my life the way of God? Thank you so much. Now it's time for giving and receiving your tithes and offerings. Our unity principles teach us that we are one with God, Source. And so we give not to Source, but as Source. Giving has been described as a spiritual practice of radical generosity, insofar as the intent is to be the extension of Spirit, tithing to that which we wish to see flourish. Tithing as Source is God in expression. At the back of the sanctuary, you'll see intention cards. These may also be placed in the offering bag. This week, our prayer angels will uphold your intentions. Intentions are what you would like to achieve as a plan either for your day or for your life. Now let us affirm our prosperity together by singing our offertory blessing.
Thy love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so it is. Well, we have some more unity music for you here. This is a tune that we have done before, but like many of our unity songs, it was inspired by something that Rev Lori said in one of her talks. And this time it was a quote by Baba Ram Das. And you mentioned that he had said something along the lines of, our real purpose here is to be walking each other home. Make sure we all get to where we need to be as safely as possible. Anyway, that was the inspiration for this tune. It's called Walking Each Other Home. We're walking in the spirit, we're walking each other home. We're walking in the spirit, we're walking each other home. As the wise man said, we're walking each other home. Take a hand like the path, we're walking each other home. Take a hand like the path, we're walking each other home. Spirit leads the way when we're walking each other home. Won't you come and join us, we're walking each other home. Won't you come along and join us, we're walking each other home. to the stream, 2 and 3 is 5. When you're walking with the Spirit, you know your soul's alive. Feel the power of the Spirit wherever you may roam. It leads the way when you're walking each other home. Taking slips and stumbles when you're walking each other home. Taking slips and stumbles when you're walking each other home. There's no need to ever walk that path alone. I said 1 and 2 is 3, 2 is 5. When you're walking with the Spirit, you know your soul's alive. Wherever you may roam, it leads the way when we're walking each other home. We're walking each other home. Walking each other home. Walking each other home. Walking each other home. Through the grace of Spirit, we're walking each other home. I said through the grace of Spirit, we're walking each other home.
Does that make me your muse?
I guess.
Okay, so let's bless our offering. So we just go to our heart space and we feel the joy of giving. It needs to feel joyful, because then we can freely give that which comes to us through a universe that is always, always the source of our good and everything that comes to us. So as we give, we receive. It's this beautiful flow of energy. So we bless this offering and the givers of these gifts. We bless the money that comes in through the week in the mail, through what comes through online in support of our online ministry. And we are blessed knowing and trusting and having faith that this offering, all of these monies, are used for the highest good of this ministry, its congregation, and all of the people we touch beyond the walls. Thank you, thank you. Amen. So let's stand and sing. You're starting to get heated up and things aren't going the way you want, that you will picture me carrying my luggage. And then your next thought will be, okay, let it go. Let it go. That's the point of the visualization today, is seeing me everywhere with that bag. The point is we got to let our stuff go. Let it go. Okay. And so we pray the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yea, God.
If you, my love, spread the word. Now our doors and hearts are open. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word. To anyone who's lost and lonely, spread the word. If we extend the hand of love, spread the word. Let one of all who join us spread the word, spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. On what unity can offer, spread the word. And we will live in peace and love, spread the word. Our doors and hearts are open, spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word.